Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to T2 Book Club. Hope my voice sounds okay today. I think I got a little bit of a cold coming on. I'm trying to get in there preemptively, taking some cold medicine to cut it out. That's what I figured out works a lot. Is you take your medicine as soon as you feel any kind of a tickle in your throat or your nose starts running, and take a shower because you probably got a buildup of bacteria around your nasal, your eyes, your orifices where stuff can get in you, and it pretty much cuts it out pretty quick if you can get a hold of it. Today we're going to be talking about Monster Hunter Memoirs Sinners. This is the other one. What was the other one? Grudge I did a while back. Larry Correia and John Ringo. Actually just John Ringo, but Larry Correia created the universe built in. So in the last book, if you remember, there was like this trailer park elf queen that they established in Seattle, and the main character this is about, Chad. It's not the main character from Monster Hunter International, it's a different guy. He's from the Seattle squad. He likes Seattle because it's colder and doesn't like hot climates. Well, in this one, he must have had sex with one of these elves, and they transfer him to New Orleans, which is really hot and muggy. And it kind of doesn't make sense because in the last book, he saw one of these elves without their glamour on, which makes them look like humans. And it looked like a nasty mosquito anteater type creature it's just really gross. So why would you sleep with something if you know it's a monster like that? But anyway, he gets transferred to New Orleans. It's hot, but the food is great, and he loves it. And he takes his three-soul Sword of Morning Monoken and his customized Uzi. He's using that again. And there's a new character, too, in New Orleans. There's this girl that, every time they kill something that's, meat, like a giant rat or a giant crocodile, she wants to take it home and cook it. And they call it a dodo phase or something. What was it called? Kind of weird New Orleans word. So that's pretty cool. So in this book, it starts out, he's replacing a bunch of people because they're really short-staffed. Everybody's injured. He's the only one that's not injured at the start. And he's basically going around from place to place because it's so busy. New Orleans is just so full of, hoodoo. Actually, his squad's called the Hoodoo Squad. And he's going from, werewolf over here. There's sub-werewolves called Lugaroos. You probably heard of them in the Supernatural TV show or other things. But on full moons especially, there's a lot of activity, and it's so much that you pretty much don't get to sleep for 3 days because you're just constantly going from thing to thing. There's ghouls over here, and there's zombies over here, and you got to go to this werewolf attack over here. Go over to this thing, there's a giant rat or whatever, and it's he's constantly going from back and forth and getting injured and dealing with stuff and making shitloads of money, by the way. This is more of Ghostbusters, actually it's kind of like Cops, but Ghostbusters, I really like the side of it where it's a business side. You see them in their the firehouse and they're making money, and you're like, oh, how much money would you make from a ghost? And you keep them in these containment units, and all the intricate details of how it all works. That's what I like more than the main story of oh, they're summoning Gozer from another dimension. That's their main deal in New York City and stuff. I like the business side of it, the smaller, the interesting stuff. This is that. It's everything but ghosts. I don't think there's ghosts in here, but every other kind of monster that exists, he has to fight constantly. So, yeah, full moons, it gets crazy, and it turns out, there's something underground. It's sucking people out of their basements. They don't really explain it in this book, but they kind of hint around that there's probably some kind of, old god, some Cthulhu sort of thing, a crustacean from space. I don't know what you would even call those things. They're in World of Warcraft, all these old gods. It seems to be what it is. Whenever somebody tries to practition hoodoo or some kind of necromantic magic, it's making it do way worse than it normally would. It's giving it extra power. So if you try to summon a curse on somebody, a toad curse, you're actually going to summon a shitload of giant frogs that they end up chasing around with helicopters, and gets on top of the Superdome and stuff, and they have to make deals with people that people know other people, and it's in the first books, they're the Monster Control Bureau is really tight on covering up all the information, not letting anybody know that monsters exist. But in New Orleans, everybody just seems to know about it. Let them get away with a lot more crap. And people just down the street are cheering them on. They got gangbangers that are watching their car for him. He's got thousands. He's got a light anti-tank weapon missile launcher in his trunk, or maybe two of them, and C4 and claymores and shitloads of guns. And he's just everybody freaks out whenever he pulls something. I was what you got in your trunk? It's these gangbangers, they put a little sticker on the back of his car, and everybody knows that's the Hoodoo Squad, and everybody was fans of them, sort of. It's kind of like the Saints from Saints Row or something. and they watch their cars for him, and nobody wants to fuck with him or mess with their house or break in or anything. And he ends up buying a house in this book because his real estate agent is kind of like a medium or something, and she like calls to the Loas, the old gods, and looks for the perfect house for him. And it's like this Japanese guy, because he loves sushi and Japanese stuff. And it's like the perfect house. It's like this mansion. It's got like a gated thing on the outside. There's all these rooms for like building an armory and stuff. And he invites all of his team over and stuff. And they have a big party. And he's always getting all these chicks and hot tubs. And I don't know. He's like a real man whore. He fucks everything he can. It's like, you really gotta read this book. So it's pretty much just like the other book, but in New Orleans, a lot more stuff's going on. And at the end of it, I don't want to spoil it, but everybody dies. Not everybody. I mean, they get kind of... they have to call in the other squad, the Monster Hunter International from Atlanta. And the Monster Control Bureau is there, and there's having like this big giant... It's Mardi Gras. Right, yeah. So Mardi Gras, it's like the full moon times 10. So there's all this... Somebody summons some kind of shit out of the ocean. There's like shitloads of lobsters. Giant, or like, not giant, but pretty big sized lobsters that are poisonous or something. They come out and start swarming over everybody, and they start wiping out the city. And they have to stop them before they get to the Mardi Gras parade, because then it'll be like too big to cover up. And that guy Franks, that's actually Frankenstein, he has to come. He's like, they actually shoot him in the back of the head at one point, and it doesn't bother him. He's like, oh, thanks for shooting that lobster that was on the back of my head. So like, he's killing shit, and this guy's killing a bunch of shit, and the guy, he has this guy with a he gets a manservant. It's like his butler shows up in the helicopter that he borrowed off of a guy, and they're sniping stuff, and like everybody dies except him, and the Monster Control from Atlanta had already gone back, I think, by this point, and they didn't die, but like all the Monster Control Bureau people, the feds, and his New Orleans team, they all just die at the end. He's the only one left. So that's a pretty good way to leave it. Like, you don't know what's going to happen now. He's probably going to get transferred again some other place, or they're going to have to just like nuke New Orleans, which is like an option. They're actually considering that at one point. So yeah, that's a pretty good book. Highly recommend Monster Hunter International series if you like that sort of thing.